Hello, everyone. It is imposter syndrome disrupted time. A little off schedule, but I'm going to explain that in just a little bit because I believe in transparency and being authentic, all of that. But welcome to episode 18 of Imposter Syndrome Disrupted. I'm here every second and fourth Tuesday to share time with you on how we as women entrepreneurs can step into our greatness, be bold, be dynamic, get the business we deserve, specifically on LinkedIn. We can't be in the shadows. We can't be in the background. We can't be missing in action, so to speak. We have to be bold and present on the platform. So this is not a LinkedIn show necessarily, but it is a show to empower women entrepreneurs on how to stand out, right? How to own our greatness. And I'm not going to say any more about that because my guest, she's got fire with these points and tips that she is going to share with us today. Again, it's September 28th. This is episode 18 of Imposter Syndrome Disrupted. And as true to fashion with every episode, I want to share motivational quote. And then I'm going to make a confession as I share this motivational quote. So the quote for today or for this episode is from woman entrepreneur extraordinaire, Oprah Winfrey. Think like a queen. A queen is not afraid to fail. Failure is another stepping stone to greatness. Don't be afraid to fail. And maybe even don't be afraid to have things not go as we plan and take it as lessons or opportunities to learn. Lessons. And taking the lessons from those experiences and then using them as stepping stones to get us to the next position, right? And to our greatness. But as opposed to just wallowing in our failures, so to speak, we need to own our failure or look to it as opportunities to learn. And so here's my confession. I'm so about being on time and being about having that commitment and being where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. Especially with imposter syndrome disrupted, I am so to like noon. I'm looking at the clock like as soon as it turns noon, I hit the button. Unfortunately, this episode, I hit the button or I set the broadcast for my business page, TCM Communications, instead of my personal. So I was live over there on time with my guest, and we did a whole show over there. But she's been so gracious to stay with me so that we can bring it to the overall network on LinkedIn. So that's my admission of my failure that I had today. And I'll have to process it after the show to figure out what lessons I can learn from that failure so that it doesn't happen again. This is episode 18 of Imposter Syndrome Disrupted. That has never happened before. So anyway, yeah, what's going to be the lessons I need to learn from that to avoid it? But so as Oprah said, don't be afraid to fail. The more that we lean into those experiences and take the lessons, the more we can move forward. I've shared before how early in my experience as a business owner, I had a phenomenal speaking opportunity that I totally failed, bombed, so to speak. Yeah, I did. Despite my degree in communications, despite having 20 plus years at that time, public speaking experience, it's a different world when you're speaking on behalf of yourself, right? On behalf of having your own business. And I could have, just like said, forget it. I'm going back to finding a job. Nope. I took and learned lessons. And then from those lessons, I went on to become a national speaker as a business owner, a global speaker as a business owner, traveling the country speaking. So don't stop with the values. Just keep it going. All right. So now let me get to some resources very quickly. And the first one I want to share is a phenomenal opportunity that's LinkedIn related. And as you see, this page is called LinkedIn's Creator Accelerator Program. LinkedIn recently announced this phenomenal opportunity that allows for, and I'm going to scroll down where you can see it. It will be 15 individuals who will go through this program. And I know I'm going very fast here. But I want you to, I'm sorry, I said 15, and that is so not true. It's 100. 100 that will go through the program. And I'm going back to the other part that I want you to see, the biggie part. And I can't even, because I can't focus now because I'm discombobulated from my failure, my mistake. Anyway, I want you to see this, that it will be 100 going through. There it is, 100 going through, and they will receive $15,000, not 1,500, $15,000 grants. I'm loving how LinkedIn, all these exciting changes and new features and programs and support and shows and all of that they're doing, and putting money to it, not just, talking about it. 15,000 per each of those who are going through this 10-week program, the launch of it. And so just so you know, Google Creator Accelerator Program, LinkedIn Creator Accelerator Program, you'll get to this page and I'm showing the deadline for the application is October 12th. So it's coming up. October 12th is the deadline. The whole process or program is about providing personal coaching, relevant resources, and creator recognition. Really helping those who are in the program build a greater presence on the platform via creation of content, original content, building community, providing value, all of that I talk about all the time, right? So if that's something that seems of interest to you, check out the page and then apply by the deadline. All right. So also, I want to share with you the next resource. And this is my resource where I'm providing what I'm calling my LinkedIn Boss Moves for Entrepreneurs training. Not just like usually I do my master classes. No, this is an actual training where I will provide the attendees step-by-step guidance through boss moves that you can make as entrepreneurs on LinkedIn to level your businesses up. Okay, get results, get business leads, get clients, get customers, whatever the case may be. So that is on October 14th from 6 to 7:30 Central Standard Time for only $97. Small group. So register via the link that's in the caption for this broadcast. And I look forward to seeing you there. And I'm going to come out of that so we can get to business, the business at hand. Really, what the show is about is women's empowerment, right? As entrepreneurs. So, my guest today, and I'm bringing her right up, Nikoa is here with me. And like, I'm not even going to introduce, I'm going to let her introduce herself. And then, like, if you don't have pencil and paper right now, pen and paper, whatever you need, some index cards, a journal, whatever you need, because I'm taking notes because these tips that she shared is fire. Like, as entrepreneurs, listening and learning from all the wisdom that she's going to share. I was so fortunate to attend a National Urban League event, virtual event recently, where she was a presenter. And it's like right in as she was presenting, I was taking mental notes. Yeah. My audience needs her. So I followed up and she was so gracious to accept my invitation to come and share information with you. And she has 6 tips. So I want her to introduce herself first, and then we're going to get right into the tips.
Well, hi, Clarine. Long time no see. It's great to be. No, I love it. No, you know what? Again, I think it's wonderful because again, I love the opportunity to talk about entrepreneurship and women entrepreneurship. I feel like it's an empowering place for us to be. And I think to have a safe space like this for us to just talk about what does it take to be an entrepreneur, the ups, the downs, the mistakes, etc. So I think it's
Like
great.
broadcasting from the wrong page. Yeah.
And that's why I'm rolling with you because we've all been there. So, but again, I am Nikoa Evans and I am a strategic advisor. My consultancy advises national brands, economic development corporations, retail developers, design firms, and entrepreneurs on literally how to build community. I help entrepreneurs build their brands, scale their models. I work with brands, national brands that are seeking to engage merchants and community. And I work with economic development corporations and developers to help build infrastructure for small business communities and ecosystems for long-term sustainability. So I'm happy to be here because I'm all about entrepreneurship and small business development. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that as women, we are innately entrepreneurial just in how we run our lives, how we manage our families, how
Mhm.
we, service, provide service in our communities. I love to say to people that entrepreneurs are often entrepreneurial long before they're entrepreneurs, because there's certain traits that are very much a part of being an entrepreneur, being hardwired to be an entrepreneur. And so when people think about, whether they can become one, because it sounds intimidating to start your own business and be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and step into this crazy world that we live as entrepreneurs, they don't realize that they are actually living as an entrepreneur already. Entrepreneurs are visionaries and they are strategists and problem solvers. They manage stress well, they pivot easily. They are deep thinkers. And so there are a lot of ways in which, even in our daily jobs, for people that are in 9 to 5s in corporate America, they are very entrepreneurial in their workplace. And so, there are a number of things to think about when you are considering becoming an entrepreneur. And so these are some of the tips that I'm going to share. But don't sell yourself short. You are probably already an entrepreneur. You just haven't launched your business yet. You are entrepreneurial, which, again, it's a crazy thing to be an entrepreneur because it's the level of responsibility and stress that you manage on your own,
Right.
without the safety
Right.
of a 9 to 5. But it is one of the most empowering places to be because you chart your own path and you
Yes.
dictate your destiny. So, with that said, these are some of the tips that I want you to think about, though, before you take this journey. Um,
Or even, I think the tips that you're going to be sharing and, walking us through, I think they're applicable for someone who may be thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, maybe new in being an entrepreneur, and or may have been an entrepreneur business owner for a long time and just, didn't think of these perspectives when it comes to entrepreneurship, or just need the reminder,
yeah,
right? Because
absolutely.
it's an ongoing process. But as you said, it's just a whole different life, a whole different world. I'm only 4 years into it, the life of entrepreneurship. But like you said, I think I was supposed to be one a long time ago because I was never satisfied or content in any of my jobs.
Yeah.
When I go back and think about, and it's like I would get in and I would hit a cap real quick because my mind is always going creating and wanting to do something different and or expand, but I would hit walls. And so I was never satisfied, or for long I would get in and hit a game busters and then move on and
Hmm.
then repeat, repeat, repeat. But
Yeah.
now it's like, yes, I love this because again, we have control over what we do, what we don't do, how we do it, and all of that. So
Absolutely.
most definitely, where are you located, Nikoa?
I'm actually in New York. I live in Harlem. And so I've been here over 20 years, really doing, um, the work that I mentioned. I've been advising brands here, helping the community of entrepreneurs here in Harlem. I'm a co-founder and executive director as well of an organization called Harlem Park to Park.
Mhm.
And that represents over 300 entrepreneurs here in Harlem. And I, as the executive director, implement economic development and marketing strategies that have been very instrumental in promoting the community of Harlem, the commercial district of Harlem, and many of the small businesses in terms of helping those businesses scale, getting product on shelves in retail stores, as well as helping them just grow their business in general. So it's a passion that I have. And Harlem is my home now, but I've been doing this work around the country
Oh,
for many years, and so now I'm sort of full circle with having been in Harlem, and now I'm sort of taking the show on the road again and doing
that's
it on
what I
a
wanted
national
to.
level.
wanted to clarify. So with DNP Group, you're not just local or focused there in Harlem. The work that you do, strategic
It's national.
consulting, is national.
Yes,
Great,
national.
great, great, great. So you ready to get into the tips?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
So, okay, so I love the quote that you presented about Oprah, and really just kind of owning the fact that you have to be ready to take a risk, right? The biggest risk that I think most of us question, and my tip number one, is whether they should bet on themselves, right? We question that. Should I take the leap and bet on myself? And as far as I'm concerned, if you think about, like I said before, we're entrepreneurial before we're entrepreneurs. In your daily life, you are giving ideas, which I love to call ideas intellectual property because that's what they are. But you are implementing ideas that you've created, but you're doing that on behalf of other people's businesses, right? You're growing other people's businesses every day, other organizations, whether it's a corporate job, whether it's in the community, whatever. So if you're already doing it for other people and you're investing the time, resources, brain power in others, why not do it for yourself? Take the leap and bet on yourself, because you would not believe, if you think that you have come up with brilliant moments for other people, when you are doing it for yourself and you've got that motivation and drive to do for yourself, the brilliance you've yet to see, what you can actually dream up
Right,
when it is
right.
all for you, when that 80-hour week that you're going to work or plus as an
Don't
entrepreneur.
don't say that. You may scare people, but
Right? Entrepreneurs, we work 80 hours for ourselves to avoid working 40 hours for someone else. But when you're doing it for yourself, you can do it all day, every day. So take the leap and bet on yourself. You are guaranteed to have a return on investment when you bet on yourself. Corporate isn't going anywhere, right? If it doesn't work, you can dust off your resume and you can go back and get another job because you're amazing, right? You have
yeah.
credentials. The reason why you've excelled at your job is because you're good. So you can go get another job. So that's the first thing, is just know that you can go back. But certainly you'll always wonder if you don't try. So bet on yourself and take the leap. That's my tip number one. Number two, like Oprah said, account for failure, plan for pivots. Go into entrepreneurship with the knowledge that you are going to fail and have setbacks. That is the nature of the game. There are stories upon stories that entrepreneurs can tell you. The business that you see that they own that is thriving is probably the fourth or fifth iteration, if not more, of that business, or the fourth or fifth business that they have launched in an effort to finally hit their stride.
Right,
Failure is a part of the process and you need to embrace it. If you go in knowing that you're going to have setbacks and you look at the setbacks as positioning you for comebacks, it relieves the stress. Don't worry about failure. Now, that's something that's hard for us as alpha female women, which most of us are.
yeah.
Our entire life, we've been succeeding, we've been excelling. We don't fail. We've got it under control because we're controlling the process. The most humbling thing, one of the most humbling things, is become an entrepreneur and see how quickly all those fancy degrees that we have, all those that years of experience you have, can get tossed out the window when you
Right,
start to deal with the reality of running a business that is affected by conditions you can't control. The
right,
market, consumer preferences that change. Consumers can be fickle. Partnership dynamics, the culture of your there are so many elements that when you wrote your business plan, you didn't factor in because they're intangibles, that they could impact the business in a way that you have a setback. That's great. Learn from it. And if you think about the global pandemic that we're in, there's no entrepreneur out here that wrote a business plan 3 years ago or wherever where they factored in a global pandemic and how they were going to have to pivot. Yet
right,
every entrepreneur in this country, in the world, has had to come up with their pivot strategy. And
right,
as a result, if you've survived this, you are smarter and better poised for success than you were 18 months ago, because you
right,
learned how to operate in a new way. We streamlined our operations. We're more digital savvy. We've identified new audience. There are so many ways in which entrepreneurs have adjusted their business models in response that they're better than ever. So setbacks position you for comebacks. Embrace the failure. That's my tip number 2.
So wait a minute. Let's like that's a lot
Yeah.
to embrace, or it sounds counterintuitive to embrace failure. Like
Yep.
I just failed this morning. I'm not feeling good about it, but I'll get over it. But like embrace failure, but
Yeah.
it's a powerful process when you look forward to it because it's going to happen, because even as you said, maybe successful companies we see now, maybe it's the fourth version of, or even successful companies we don't see what's on the back end, like all the failures they've gone
Exactly.
through, all
Absolutely.
the mistakes they've made and continue to make. But when we embrace it and see it as a part, I don't know about welcoming it and fully embrace.
Give it a big old hug. Say thank you, right? No, I mean, really, it's hard. It's hard to do, especially again, we as women are used to being the backbone. We are the pinch hitter that comes in. We carry the baton across the finish line. Like we are used to getting it done. And so for a lot of us, you're raised to excel, like that you were taught to be alpha female, right? And so
Mhm.
it doesn't feel good to fail because
Wow.
it's counter to what we know. Um, but when you hear the stories of really successful entrepreneurs, even Oprah has talked. Listen, Oprah for how many years with her show, she let us she literally experienced her failures with us, right? She opened up her life to us. We saw all of the setbacks that she had, the things that she struggled with. When you really listen to really successful people, they'll tell you stories about their losses, their setbacks. And so if they experienced it, of course, like it's not going to bypass you. So
Right.
it's just something, it's a little difficult to get used to, but once you do, it relieves a lot of stress too, because then when it happens, you're like, oh yeah, I expected that. I didn't know when it was going to come. I don't like the way it came, but I was told to expect failure, setbacks, and so this is mine. What am I going to learn from it? And then what happens over time is you pivot faster. The first time you're devastated, you're
Yeah.
wallowing in it. Whoa, how,
Right.
what, why? The second, I mean, then you start to, it's just like, bam, okay, but what are we going to do? You become that problem solver trait that I said entrepreneurs have. You, you jump into that mode a lot faster. So that's what it's about. It's just training you for
Mm.
things to come. So
And
that's,
maybe we as women entrepreneurs need to share those mistakes, those failures more.
yeah,
Right? So normalizing failures is what I think we need to do. That way we can really see it as something that's not so can that's they don't always have to be so devastating.
right.
Right? They can be learning experiences and to empower others with. Okay, tip 3.
Pick your partners wisely. This is really, really important. A lot of times entrepreneurs take this, they take this too lightly. Partners it's a work marriage, and partnerships can be very difficult to get out of. I have made mistakes in the past with people I've partnered with. You have to really do your due diligence. Even if someone is your good friend, your family member, etc., think about the skill sets you need to run your business, to grow your business. You are literally bringing on the team that's going to help you build your brand, help you scale your business. The skill sets and competencies you need may not always be in the people that you think, right? Or it may change over time. Where you are in the early stage and where you're going to be later, the person that you bring on, family, friends, they might be part of your team, but they don't necessarily have to be a partner on paper through the legal structure.
Right.
And so that's really something important to think about, is what skills do you need to run your business? No different than if you were hiring for a job, hiring someone for, what do you need to know? I always like to tell people, ask yourself the 3 a.m. Litmus test. Being an entrepreneur is stressful. It can be a pressure cooker. You work the longest hours you've ever worked. You will deal with timelines that you have never experienced. If at 3 a.m. on no sleep, with an impending deadline and just the most pressure you've ever felt, if the person that you are partnered with is someone that you can see yourself working through, you might have discourse, but you have constructive discourse. You can see them their work ethic is similar to yours, as in you're not the only one there at 3 a.m. because they left 4 hours ago because they decided they wanted to go. I mean, the work ethic, the values, your fundamental kind of, are you aligned on strategy? All of these things, you have to ask those questions up front, because it is very, very difficult once you're down the road to make changes, when you've got someone, and it could be very costly. You might end up having to buy someone out of a company, that in order to shift. You really, really think through, who your partners are going to be, and do the due diligence. Even if it's a personal friend, ask hard questions. Are they going to really have skin in the game? You know, and do they have the same short-term and long-term vision that you have, and work ethic? So that's my third tip.
3 a.m. litmus test.
Absolutely. It's a
Can
good
they
one.
be in the fire with you and you still be good on the other side of the fire and still work
No
it?
question. Absolutely.
Tip 4.
Never allow your emotional attachment to a physical asset blur your ability to make a smart business decision. And this is important. Um, and when I say this, I mean, when I say physical asset, it can be literally physical, like if you are in a brick and mortar and you've got a location that you either want or you're currently in. It could be a partner or an employee that you absolutely love, but they're just not a good fit. They don't fit with the culture of your company, or they're disruptive. It could be a funding source that you just absolutely thought was the best, but then the terms, they're going to own like 51% of your company by the end of it. You know, you got to
Wow.
read the fine print.
Right.
All of these things, if you don't take the emotion out of it and you get caught up in the razzle dazzle, or the jazz hands, I like to say, you can make a bad decision based on emotion as opposed to a smart business decision. You have to take the emotion out of it and just really look at it black and white on paper. Does this make sense? I may love this person dearly, but she's not a good fit for the company anymore. This money looks really great, but not all money is good money.
Good money.
You might be giving away too much of your equity too soon, if you make a bad decision in terms of funding. Not all funding is ideal, especially for early stage. You got to really think about what your valuation is. Maybe you need to wait. And if it's a brick and mortar, I know the feeling of, like, you think you have the perfect location and you can't imagine your business anywhere else. Sometimes the landlord is hostile, doesn't work. Things have changed. You either need to walk away from that deal, find another location, whatever. So make sure you take the emotion out of it and just look at it. If I were looking at this on paper, almost like a case study, what would my decision be? Make that decision and not the emotional one.
And that's why sometimes I think it's good to have people in that we can really trust and have the expertise in our small circle, because sometimes it's hard to detach because we're so wedded to it, so to speak. And if we have someone else is viewing it or helping walk us through the things that we're blinded by, then we can make the more sound decision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, tip number 5, find your tribe. This is really important. Like I said in the beginning when I introduced myself, that I specialize in building community. Um, it is so important as an entrepreneur to find community. It's a very lonely existence a lot of times as an entrepreneur. You work in a bubble, in a silo. You can go days and days without human contact outside of even your family, or if you're not don't have a family, you are literally just on your computer or just working on your business, and you have no contact with anyone else. It's challenging to share your experience with non-entrepreneurs. Your friends may love you and be really supportive, but
Right.
unless you live the life of an entrepreneur, you really can't understand
Right.
the life that we live and the challenges that we face when you have a 9 to 5 and you've got that security of a check every 2 weeks. And
Right.
as much as you may empathize, until you literally have no parachute, and when you're trying to make payroll and the revenue isn't matching up with the expenses,
Right.
that stress, another entrepreneur, you can start the conversation at a
Right.
point that with someone else, there's just you trying to get them to that point before you can even start to discuss what the issue is.
Right.
It's challenging. So find community. a network of entrepreneurs, whether it's a merchant association, your chamber of commerce, that you can
Mhm.
tap into. It could be a trade organization. Um, Find a group of entrepreneurs that have a shared experience with you. You can share resources, mentorship, and they can just save you a lot of trial and error. Listen, I went down that path, and I would say, don't do that, do this, because it'll save you X amount of money, or it'll save you this many steps. All of that is valuable. It's time saving, it's money saving, and it's just emotionally necessary, because the stress can be a lot. And
Yeah.
but it helps when you've got other people that they're living the same life that you live,
Right.
and can provide that, sometimes you don't even need to talk. I have met fellow entrepreneurs for a drink at the end of the day, and it's silence, but we are having a whole conversation, right? Like, the look on the face,
Right.
you are having a silent conversation about it, and without saying any words,
Right.
just here,
That synergy is like
listen.
it's only like you said, you can only get that with someone else who lives the life, so to speak. And it's great to
Absolutely.
have the support by others, but you don't understand totally unless you live the life. Yeah.
No,
It's
no
totally it's
question. I am a co-founder of an organization here in Harlem called Harlem Park to Park, and we represent over 300 entrepreneurs. And so for
oh,
20 years, I've been doing this work, helping build this community of entrepreneurs and building business development and marketing strategies. And it's been instrumental in the growth of the small business sector here in Harlem. But the asset is the community that we have. I'm also a restaurant owner. I own a restaurant here in Harlem called Sexy Taco. And so, being in the hospitality
wait a minute.
business,
Sexy taco.
Sexy Taco, my partner is the co-owner, Brian Washington Palmer, who's the chef. But being in the restaurant industry, the pandemic leveled the hospitality industry, right? So you talk about having to pivot and the stress level that we've been dealing with as restaurant
Right.
owners. Having the community of other restaurant owners are coming together during the pandemic, and in a lot of different ways, feeding frontline workers. There were a lot of ways that, because we had community, we could quickly galvanize and work together to help us just kind of get through a lot of the community kitchens that you saw around the country, during the early pandemic stage. The restaurants, it was literally because we just needed to come together and do something
Mm,
to help just kind of deal with the devastation. So
mhm.
that community has now kind of positioned us. Now we are still here, still standing, and
Right.
many of us thriving. So a community is everything. So find your tribe, whatever industry you're in, whatever community you're in. There is a network of entrepreneurs that will welcome you and will be a source of support.
That's
Um,
rich because doing it alone is
it's
just
not. You don't need to. You don't need
right.
to. And you don't want to. You don't want to. So my last tip is, remember what your mother told you. She told you when you were little, you were special, you were smart, and you could do anything, right?
Mhm.
Your father too. And so it's going to be very important as an entrepreneur, because there's going to be a lot of times where there's self-doubt. This
Mhm.
is a business that will humble you. For it started out saying we're used to being alpha females, we're used
Right.
to excelling, being stars in our field. Entrepreneurship will put you on your behind, and you will question yourself. Should I be doing this? Can I do this? What am I doing wrong? I don't understand. I'm usually so good at things, et cetera, et cetera. Remember who you are, because you are the asset. Your
Right.
vision, your strategy, your expertise, your product, everything about who you are positions you to be the best person, best business to cater to your audience better than anyone else could. Nobody can do you the way you can do you.
Nope.
And so that is so important to remember, because there are going to be times where you're going to question whether you should be doing this, and you're going to see competition. Even if you have competition and it may be similar strategy than yours, it's still not
No.
yours. There's
Yep.
an element that you're going to bring to it that comes from your personal experience, your third eye. I love to tell people, entrepreneurs, we got a third eye that allows us to kind of see opportunity where other people can't. You know, we
Right.
can see a blank canvas, and we've got vision, right? I said one of the
Right.
traits of an entrepreneur is visionary.
Mm-hmm.
So we see opportunity in places that other people don't. So trust that, and remember who you are, and infuse that into your strategy. Remember the why for what you're doing, because that's another kind of tip that I don't have on this list. But remember your why. Remember the passion that led you to become an entrepreneur, the why for why you want to do it, and bring that into your strategy. And that is the recipe for success when it really comes to being an entrepreneur. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it is putting yourself out front. People invest in people, right? So a lot
Right.
of times with brands, it's the person, the brand narrative, the person behind
Yes.
it, the story that
Yes.
sells you, right?
Right.
That's what makes you choose one over the other. Your
Right.
story is unique. So trust that, and remember that's your biggest asset. No one can take that from you. That's your intellectual property. And that's the other part of it is people, as women too, we have to really start to recognize the value that we bring to the table. Ideas. Sometimes when people say, "Oh, can I pick your brain?" No more picking the brain. You don't get to pick my brain anymore and just take my ideas for free.
Right.
We give away so much,
I
right?
was trying to see if I have, and I don't have it in here still. Because I've shared before a graphic about picking the brain and really what that means and responses we should give people when they
Yeah,
come to us saying or asking if they can pick our brains, because our brains, our mental expertise, our time and all of that is, there's a value, there's a price,
absolutely. There's an
should be a
expertise.
price should be associated to that.
People
So
get paid to think. There's a thing called ideate. Like people get paid to literally just
right,
develop strategies. So that's, but as women, we're constantly
givers.
givers.
Mhm.
We give advice. We get, and you've given someone $1 million idea, you don't even realize it. And so that's the thing that you got to think about is like that's an asset. It's got value. It's intellectual property. I keep saying that word because people don't really think about. They think about trademarks, like, oh, I've got to trademark my logo. I've got to trademark
Right.
intellectual property. Everything that comes out of your mouth, your
Yep.
experience,
Yep.
ideas, that's
Right.
assets. You've got to own that. So that's a big part of this too. So remember who you are. You're the biggest asset. At that point, you're unstoppable.
I love
So
that.
those are my tips. Those
Unstoppable.
are my tips. You're
Let's be
unstoppable.
unstoppable. Let's go through them real quick and then we're going to wrap up. So, tip number one, take the leap and bet on yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
100%. Like we have to be, I always say we have to be our biggest cheerleaders. If we're not cheerleading or championing ourselves, how can others? Tip number two, account for failure plus plan for pivots. Embrace failure. I'm still churning inside with that one, but yes. Number three, tip three, pick your partners wisely. Oh my goodness. Yeah, in advance, pick them wisely so you don't regret it afterwards. Tip four, never allow emotional attachment to a physical asset blur your ability to make a smart decision, business decision. And tip five, find your tribe. And that's what I hope, to accomplish with this show, a tribe of women entrepreneurs, but the like mindedness, yes, is so needed. And tip six, remember your vision, strategy, expertise, product, service, and ability to deliver to your audience better than anyone. I should have put that in caps. Anyone better than anyone else are your most important assets. Like nobody can be us but us.
Absolutely.
So why waste time trying to be like someone else or undervaluing ourselves and not being our great,
Mm-hmm.
selves, full selves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else? This has just been so powerful, Nikoa. So thank you for sharing. But
Thank
anything
you
else
for
that you want
having me.
to?
No, I mean, I just, I really appreciate the opportunity. I love speaking on entrepreneurship and particularly women entrepreneurs. And so hopefully, there'll be an opportunity to share again. And I have signed up for your
I know.
course. You saw that, right?
I
I
know.
signed up because I entrepreneurship, you're always learning. You never know everything. So
Right.
where I am not strong is how to use LinkedIn as a platform for my business in the way that, I know that it's a much more powerful platform than I am actually leveraging. And so I'm going to attend your class myself just so that I can boss up on my LinkedIn. So
It is the
I
number
look
one
forward.
social media platform for business and professional purpose. It is like there's no way around that. It's the number one. It's created for users to get results, the structure of it, and even beyond job seekers, beyond executives, entrepreneurs can find great success on the platform. It's all about leveraging it based
Right.
on practices. But so looking forward to having you on the
Yep.
14th for that. But thank you for all these jewels, these gems that you've shared with us. Very, very, very much appreciated. And so, how can
Yeah.
people, if they want to learn more about Nikoa
Sure.
Evans and all the great things that you have going on, what's the best way
Yes.
for people to follow up with you?
Sure, great. Well, they can. My website is nikoaevans.com. So that's really easy. Nikoaevans.com or Instagram at Nikoa Evans. So I'm really active on Instagram as well if that's what people prefer. But my website has all the information about the work that I do.
So you're very active on which platform did you say? Instagram?
Instagram and Facebook. I
For
know, but
now. That's
for
that's
now, which is
until October
exact
14th, and then
until
that's
I
gonna
get the
change.
LinkedIn training. Absolutely. I'm one of those that I didn't understand. I thought it was, job posting, site, and, a little bit of sharing kind of news about professional, um,
Mm-mm.
achievements of, your own or following of your peers. Had no idea that it was the engine that it is. So I'm actually looking forward to, because I oh listen, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So I go to the
Right.
experts for what I don't know. No,
Yeah.
I have no problem. And you will continue. I don't care how long you're in business as an
Yes.
entrepreneur, you will
Yes.
always have things that you can learn.
We should be in that process of continuous learning because then that allows us to expand our businesses even more. Any page or area specifically on your website you want to share with individuals? So this is Nicole Evans right
Yes,
here.
sure. Thank you.
And
So
look at
yeah,
all this.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, well, my the about page, of course, breaks my experience down. It's like different kind of aspects of what I do, as an advisor, consultant. As I said, I'm also an entrepreneur, as a restaurant owner. But in terms of my services, as a consultant, this is where if people are seeking, whether you're a national brand or a economic development corporation, community development organization, or even entrepreneurs, gives you a sense of kind of the different things that I offer services. And then on the this impact page really shows just kind of case studies of the different projects that I've worked on. So
Great.
yeah, so thank you for showing that.
Of
Appreciate
course. Of
it. Mhm.
course. All righty. So again, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to our continued conversation and you bossing up on LinkedIn. It is. And I love how you said that you didn't know it was the engine that it is. It's a whole different world on LinkedIn that far too many people, especially entrepreneurs, don't realize or know about. And that's where I come in. And my specialty is really helping entrepreneurs and executives, but especially entrepreneurs to shine online because unlike job seekers, when it comes to the platform, it's really from a transactional one time, like get a job and be gone kind of
Right, right.
look. But for entrepreneurs on an
Ongoing.
ongoing basis, that
Yeah,
lead generation, the filling the sales funnel and cultivating those potential clients and customers in a way where they can get to know us, like us, and trust us and want to do business with us. And LinkedIn allows for that in a phenomenal way where, when leveraged appropriately, or strategically, it's the law of attraction where the clients, the customers come to us versus us going to them, hunting them down. But
hmm,
okay, this is
great.
not a LinkedIn listen, so let me hush. Um, Thank you so much. And to everyone who's joined us, whether in real time, through the replays on YouTube, or through the podcast version, always remember to put your crown on, put the S on your chest, because we are We are super powerful, but we have to own our brilliance, own our brands, and level up on LinkedIn so we can get the results we want. See you next time for the next episode, and that will be on October 12th. So every second and fourth Tuesday here at noon Eastern Standard Time. But see you for the next episode. Take care. And all right, we're heading into the last quarter of this year. Hit it hard, hit it strong. Let's end this year strong with our businesses.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.